Welcome to my tutorial for setting up the translation project. I'm Houndai, aka LL Chris LL. I'm sorry in advance if you don't understand my way of explaining or my spelling is not the greatest. In this tutorial I will base on my documentation site linked in the repository which I have open right here. Like mentioned, it's linked in here. Click on this and you get to here. Basically, the site, the page itself is under guides and project installation. It doesn't hold much, I'm honest with you, but it takes care of everything basically which you need to know on it. Most of stuff you have to think of yourself what to do, but it's not complicated at all. But I will go into detail for some points and skip some entirely in this video at least. So let's go on the first step, downloading recommended tools. Basically, I would recommend you to use TurtleSkit or any other kind of program you want to use, which is compatible with GitHub or whatever, to use it. But for TurtleSkit to use, you also need the Git for Windows application to run its on its core, basically. And then you can go further into TurtleSkit. Of course, you can also take GitHub desktop app. I will not show you how to download or nor where to download these. But if you want to go by the example in here, just click on the links, download them, install them, and you're good to go. Optional, of course, you also have the possibility extract via zip. So download the zip format, but in case I make updates again, you only have to update the files I updated. So once you have installed one of the tools, you click on code here when you're on the repository, then open with GitHub desktop. Then it depends on what you have installed. It works both ways. So by default, I have TurtleSkit installed. I also have GitHub desktop, but it is on priority. Then you open TurtleSkit. Then you get this window. Basically, you get a prompt which you want to download, which is already filled in, and then where you want to install it to. But since I have here already my normal Git, I will make, I have already here a folder. I will make it here for tutorial purpose and hit OK. Then you wait until the download is finished. Now, so pretty much it's done. And I will go in here. Then I have basically 4 folders which are there. So in the end, the base folder is the translation folder. Every kind of file you need for the translation files itself are located in here. There are 3 subfolders: renewal, pre-renewal, and compatibility. Basically, renewal is the main folder for every kind, no matter what kind of server you're trying to make. Renewal always goes first, because it holds the most files. In case you want to make a pre-renewal server, you just copy the files straight on top of the renewal folder, basically. So the content of it, like in case you know from before, like I had to. And then afterwards come the compatibility thing. So basically, each is sorted by different clients. So not every client is listed, of course. That would be too much of a waste of space, basically. So only the most major stuff is in here, basically. Like as example, or if let's start from the beginning. And the base project version is for 2015 October 29. So if you want to use a newer version, newer client, like as example 2018 July 20th, then you copy, depending on what server you want to make, the files in it. Like if you want to make a renewal, you take the whole content, copy it in your client folder. But as example, but to make this process a bit easier for everyone, With the reorganize, which I did months ago, I had the idea to make batch files, pretty much which does the job for you by simple inputs. There, the tools folder comes into action, which basically does everything what you need to know. You need to do basically. So client generator batch is the most important batch file for the whole project. Everything else is additional and optional. So when I start the client generator, as example, you get this text explaining what it does, which I just did basically. And then you have here, you can choose the server mode or even exit, of course, or press X. So if you want to make a renewal, you type the 1 and enter. And you repeat the same step pretty much depending on what client they need. It's also noted here what the project base is. And if I want to make a 2000, this one 2018 6 20th client, and I put the 6 and hit enter. Then it's confirmation message, proceeds, yes or no, and it copies all files required for this client and the base files. You can even check what it copied and if everything was copied. So basically renewal is the base folder where the most files are located. Afterwards come the completive folder where it only takes files important after for the follow-up clients. So basically that's the easy step. But in case this batch file doesn't work for you for some reason, you have to make it manually. That's why I kinda try to explain what's going on. So then the next additional customized thing would be the additions generator, but for that I will go back to the additions folder itself. In this folder is basically only what you want to make for custom changes, like example the attendance feature, like the rewards they get, or the pet evolution stuff if you have custom pets which require you want to do evolution for. You make the entrances here, so the entries, not entrance, sorry. Or also one of my custom files are the signed data for the custom Lua support part 2 for signboards, which is basically to load the additional files, signboards if you have or you want to add some. Also in here is a lot of custom files, which of course, like mentioned, will be handled by the client additions generator batch. You can copy whatever you want. You can also, like as example, for certain clients, you need older maps which are hard to get by because of the common errors V and W error, because newer clients have different versions for those. You need legacy maps pretty much, which is all listed here. You can also, of course, go in a one-in-one package if you don't want to copy everything single, one by one. And let's go back by 0. And we have here the system folder, which is, like mentioned, it will copy the files for you, what you want. And you can be in here as long as you like. Data folder, as example, it's only the basic txt files, or like every card related file for custom cards and stuff, MP3, and so on. That's this file tool. Then the custom Lua support generator, so the CLS generator, is a bit more advanced. I will not go into it in this video. If there is a need, I will make another one, but that's up to you if you want a setup guide for this. But it's also mentioned or explained on my document site. So the last tool which I recently added is a small converter from your base Lua file to so your raw uncompressed Lua file, like the raw. I'm gonna open my, like the itemInfo as example. This is a raw Lua file, which is my whole glory. I don't have an example right now, but I do have it. If under converted or compressed Lua file, is basically what every official server has. I think this one. It will look like this. It's compressed, it's smaller, and nobody can read it by default. So basically, I explained the tools, explained the layout. Basically, other one would be add-ons. It's also, like mentioned, part of the customization, but it's all mentioned on my documents side. What it does, what it's for, how it works. But I will go into detail about the Nemo and warp sessions in a bit. First, before you start making your first client, I would suggest or recommend, sorry for my spelling again, to look into the client generator, but look at the list of clients you want to make. The reason why 2023 clients are not in this list are because there's no free public version pretty much. You have to buy them from for 144 as example. That's why I didn't include them. Also, Artina as example doesn't support them officially yet. So that's why I don't include, I don't have them, but it's easy. The folders are there in the compatibility folder. Just copy over the files you need one by one, and then you have it. If it's available in the patch version, because patch your client as well, it depends. I don't know the progress on that part. That you have to ask in the Nemo or Warp Discord. Basically, check what client you want to do. If you want to go for the latest, support it basically. What I use most of the time to translate and check stuff, the latest, the April version, the last free one, and go by that as example. Then once you have made your client, so choose your client, copy the files. In the same folder will be the client folder. In here, you pretty much have your client setup complete. In case you don't know, you need to download a client from nemo.ws, sorry, /downloads, or pretty much. Also linked on my Discord or everywhere else. And it downloads, you scroll down a bit, and then you choose what kind of client you want to download. Don't use 0 clients, they're not supported by this client. Also, if you have multiple from the same date, always choose the latest available, because they contain bug fixes, which other previous ones had. Then, once you have downloaded, you also need, of course, a patcher, pretty much. Not for your public use, because to patch your clients. Where is it? Here. I have here down below on the document side regarding my profiles and session files, a link to Nemo and to Warp. You can pretty much do the same like before with this project, copy it over, get in GitHub, and then you can always update it on the fly, in case they made an update about it. So you can also, of course, do issues, reports and stuff, whatever, but that's up to you, unrelated to me. So then the next thing would be once you downloaded this, you just open Nemo or Warp, whatever. I'm gonna go by Nemo for this tutorials example. The next thing would be before you start making your client, decide what you want to use. Do you want to use grf or data folder? What I recommend is for development is use data folder, because it makes checking for errors, changes, whatever easier than using a grf version from the get-go. Because you have to pack the new files into grf every time, and it's waste of time in my opinion. Once you have checked everything which you changed, then pack it into grf. So for this case, you make 2 clients, one which reads data folder patch first. It's not recommended by default, so you have to check that every time. And then make a public one without this patch, basically. So the graph version is also need an additional change or step for it, which involves the data.ini, data.ini, in case you didn't change the patch for it, which I'm gonna show in a minute what I mean by that. But I can show you pretty much my data.ini. Like example, I made it with my tool with the client generator graph containing the data for 2022 April 6th. Then from my resource collection, the official data graph, and then normal data. These entries go by priority. 0 is always the highest priority, and the higher number, the later the priority. I always go by order, pretty much. I don't know if there's a matter if you skip a number or not, but I'll always do it like this. So pretty much translation first, additional here, and then the last one's always the official. So back to topic. Once you have set up your, of course you need a graph editor for this. I will pretty much you go editor, make a new graph, move over your data folder, move, just new graph, move your data folder in there, wrong one, like this. Then every file which you need is in here. And the system folder, of course, doesn't fit into the graph. It will not be read because the client is not set up or possible to make it read from the graph, sadly. That's why the Lua Convertor is there to make this a bit more protected. A bit, not much, but a bit. Then you just hit save and name it whatever. And like mentioned, put the name at the first entry here. But you read it first. So then, once you have done this, you can go over to Nemo. Like example, in my case, I will do this. I will just go my defaults. So once you have started Nemo and download your client you want to use, you hit browse here. Like you might have seen already just now, but maybe too fast, for the unpacked client, which you only can use to make your client, and then your output where your new client, the packed client, will be going, the patched client. So then after you sure you decided everything, you hit load client. This might take a while, a few seconds, because it has much to load, and yeah. So the next thing is, once this is loaded, so pretty much what I also recommend, like in here, is to use the Nemo profiles, or in Warp's case, the session files. They're all public or in the Addons folder of the repository. In the Addons folder, you have here the Nemo profiles and the Warp sessions YAML files for it. Pretty much the same, or they are the same. What these do is, because I have so many renamed files, as example, let me go back to it, translation, renewal, system folder, most importantly, I have mostly named everything en at the end, okay, for the English translation. And to make the client read that instead of the original files, it's easier to make use of this feature to load the profiles session files respectively. So basically what I'm gonna do is I load a profile, this button down folder, Nemo profiles. So the next thing is, since I have a 2022 client, and there is no 22, I will go with the latest in this version. These are basically responsible for, they're pretty much all the same, but instead there are a few patches which came later additionally, like as example in the 2019 June, there came the map info loop file in system folder. Load now this translation file, so the log file basically, which is responsible. Then I will let it load for a bit, because there are many patches to go through. So here, like mentioned before, if you want to rename your data.ini to anything you like I'm gonna do ROTP as example, which I also have, don't worry, but I will let it be for data.ini as example in this case. Then okay, if you want to change it, and then those will become the new loop paths. Basically, you can rename itemInfo, but you also have to rename the file for it, of course. But like mentioned, I will stick to the default. You just have to click through and press OK on everything which comes to automatically apply the changed name for it. That's the use of those files, profiles and files. Just press OK every time until nothing pops up anymore. That's all. Then the next step is to make sure everything, because when I made those files, I also selected recommended, but sometimes it doesn't work as intended, depending on the client you use. Basically, you have to also hit select recommended patches afterwards. Then of course you will get those errors. Those are pretty normal depending on client. It's just only a patch error which only makes that the selected patch doesn't work for your client. Just ignore them and continue. There might be a few, might be not, but the client still works. Not for the patch which was selected. Even they were recommended and stuff, but still. So then the next thing is about the data folder. So if you want to make, like I recommended or suggested, a development client, you need to read data folder first. Like I mentioned, it's not recommended. You hit this, select it, and go further. At the beginning, as I recommend, go with a default client first to test your client folder just to make sure it works as intended. Afterwards, you can make changes like window title if you want to change your window title. I misclicked. Custom window title as example. That was an old one that's still in there. I don't know why. Like I do mostly this. As example, like this. Then the name of the window is this. If you have lots of hitgears you want to add, you also need the increase hitgear view ID because it's mostly hard coded into client. You can change here the maximum view ID. Otherwise, your hitgears won't be displayed because they are over that ID. That's one of the examples I do personally, which I have the most basic. Everything else in here is used to be with caution. In case you wondered already what these patches are, those are for my custom Lua supports. Like mentioned, I will not go in this video into that. But like also mentioned, it's also explained on my document site. Wanna read on that? Go ahead. If not, skip it. Don't click on them. Just like don't use the CLS generator batch file if you don't want to use that. Same thing. So once you have selected your patches, make sure you have everything. You can redo it every time. You can also save a profile in case you don't want to redo everything and you might forget what patch you did. Make a profile first, save it, and you can select that instead by the next time and make adjustments. So afterwards, you selected everything. You hit apply selected. Patches applied, and then you have your client done in this location. That's pretty much how patching works. It's not complicated. It just takes some time to debug, pretty much, in case there are patches which breaks your client generally. So, and once this is done, I'm gonna close this. So we got your client setup, we got the data RGF setup. Pretty much that's all you should know Before I forget anything about the recent pull request I made or add-on, pretty much, it's about the itemInfo. I changed how it works basically. I used Neomind's itemInfo support a space now, which is stayed the same for the name basically, which looks like this now. Then I have here some additional configs which you can decide how you want to use it. As example, display origin displays the server argument which is in the new itemInfo or the new translation file present, which is this one, to display it or not on the item and how it's going to be displayed. Disable it by putting a 0 in front instead. Then you also have the show the item ID display function, which pretty much is the same to display automatically depending on this setting. I also have an option to enable the item link to define price. Below you have a sample entry which was the same or is the same like Neomind's. I just changed it to red potion instead of the crimson potion to keep the example. While the effect might be from pre-renewal, which sort of checked for comparison, it's really different. Then I, as example, has also additional files loaded, and I loaded here the additional files with the missing items from each server. But everything else stays the same. And at the end, you can just copy paste pretty much and insert the name of your new table. Like as example, I got here the table carrier. I will open the item carrier file as example. It goes by this one. And that's pretty much how you can add your own tables in case you want to. It's pretty simple. But it's up to you how you want to use it. But the actual translation file is now located in the Lua files 414 folder, which is this one, just called iteminfo.lua, and the function file, which is pretty much the important one to overwrite, depending on your client, which is done with the batch files now as well, is in here. It's just pretty much a rename. So basically, new itemInfo n is just the custom items if you have any or if you wanna add them, the configs in here. That's pretty much all you have to hurry up do. It also works like the same. If you wanna overwrite official items, just put the item in here with the new context, and it will be overwritten. So that's all about the pull request I did here. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed and understood most of it or all of it. In case you have further questions, PM me on Discord, join the Discord and give feedback to anything you see in here, or you have some suggestion, improvements, whatever, go ahead.